Salutations everyone, this is Razor doing a remastered version of my Meta Knight emblem from Black Ops 2. Now with a little bit more detail, give this sword a little bit more love, and just make it look a little better. So we're gonna start off with the base here, just normal color. I'll put all the RGB color codes in the description below because there's a lot of different colors because we're gonna be utilizing the gradient feature here. It's my first time using the gradient feature. You can either be linear gradient or radial gradient. For some reason, layer 1 and layer 2 are like switched up because like layer 1 should be the base and layer 2 should be what's being radial or linear gradiented, if that's a word, but unfortunately they did it the other way around. So we're gonna go for a linear radial gradient to give a little bit of more detail to the actual mask. Now you can skip this if you might be having some trouble, especially with the eyes, which you will see later. So if you're having trouble with correcting mistakes, then skip the gradient part because then it will be one solid color and it's easier to fix those problems. Here I'm just putting up a red background just so I can see the base of his body a little bit better. We will not be using a background because we're going to be using all 64 layers for Meta Knight here. There's not really much room for customization. It's just basically where do you want to put the detail? Do you want to put the detail into the mask? Do you want to put the detail into the sword? Do you want to put the detail into the wings? Since the wings are the least visible and they are behind Meta Knight and we kind of didn't put much detail into them in the Black Ops 2 emblem, we're going to be doing the same here. So the main part that's not going to get its the detail that we would like to have are the wings. So those are only going to get like 6 layers for those wings. But it does work out. I do like the changes made to the masks here. So we're just going to give them a little bit of feats, and instead of using a couple different layers to make some feet shadows, we're just going to nice little gradient touch to get not the same effect. It's not desirable. I would have liked to do the feet in a specifically different way. That's just not possible with the tools available here with us, but we make do. So you can switch up with the opacities or the gradients the way that you want. If you don't like the way one of the colors I'm using is, you can of course change it. I had to change my colors from some of the source materials because for some reason Black Ops 3, some of the colors are brighter than they would be in other programs. So of course copy and paste just so you can get the same colors and the same gradients throughout. Now we're going to start off with the eye hole of the mask. We're going to be basically using a lot of the same layers that we did in Black Ops 2 because they give us the exact same tools. We're just able to use more of them for layering purposes. So the eye hole is pretty self-explanatory. You just got to make sure you get the placement right. And as always, we'll do a little bit of fixing up at the end. I changed a little bit of the movement of the eye hole as well as like the shape and size of the mask. So your mileage will vary. Pretty simple. We just got these two shippity shapes out here, and then we have a nice triangle to fill in the gap, and to get that nice edge we're going to have a diamond to get that last little pointed edge. We will be adding the later detail later where we have a split down the mask, like the curvature of it that's, you know, prominent in Meta Knight artwork that we couldn't do in Black Ops 2. But here with the gradient tool we are able to do that with one which is one layer, so it's very cool. We're going to be using the gradient into fading into the other colors behind it instead of using 2 different colors. So here's the tricky part. This one took me like a good half hour. Were the eyes. Since I used a gradient on the mask, let's say I used a yellow oval on the mask and then tried to clip it on the non-eye area. Because the gradient is there, we can't fully flesh and mesh out that gradient while getting rid of the yellowness of the eyes mistakes. So I'm using this awkward shape to make our Meta Knight, and since it has like a weird little at the end there, it's not like, you know, perfectly curved on both sides. I don't know why. Sometimes it works for us. We'll be using this later for his right shoulder pad, which works out very nicely, just like we did in the previous version. But cleaning up the eyes does take a little bit of work. So This one might be too difficult for some of you, or just frustrating, because it does take a lot of time to get these eyes looking just right, and even that, so maybe you might not be satisfied with it. So if you want to just do it the shorter way that uses less layers, then you can just use a yellow oval and then block out the rest of it with the same color as the mask if you aren't going to go with the gradient, which isn't super noticeable because obviously this emblem is going to be smaller when you see it on your weapon or on your profile, that it might not matter as much to you. But I thought we'd try a little bit something different. You still can get the mask contour with the additional layer that we'll be adding later. So this is just all that I can do here with the eyes. Sorry, it's a lot of trial and error here, especially in this area. So it's just gonna take some time. It's gonna take some time. So now that we have the eye hole all fixed out, we are going to be moving on to the mask detail using this tried and true layer here. We're going to use a couple of different ones of these for shading purposes. So just this one shape and some triangles to fully flesh out those colors. In the previous emblem, we only used 4 of these shapes to get that detail, which worked out pretty well with what we have. But now that we can do a little bit more, we got this sick looking gradient tool. We could add a little bit of shading if that's something that you're interested in. So we're going to have a lighter color on one side and a darker color on the other side. And we're basically just going to copy and paste that 4 different times, spacing it out evenly, as well as getting the perspective just right, since the right side of his face is closer to the quote-unquote camera or perspective that we are using. And we're going to be using a little bit of triangleage to get the point of them just correct to the proportions of actual Meta Knight art vector. And it's pretty simple. It's a nice, sweet, contoured mask, and then using some of his dark blue body color to get it to the right point. So now we come to the part where we're going to get that nice little contour that kind of gives you that nice sharp edge in between, right in the middle of the mask. So make sure that your eye hole and the top of the mask kind of line up in this rounded fashion to get this nice look. So first of all, we're just going to start off with a nice noticeable color like white, so I can really see it line up with the face hole as well as the top. You want to make sure it doesn't feel out of place or anything. You want to make sure it has a nice fitting anglet just correctly so it goes through both the top point and the bottom convex point of the eye holes, as well as the top and the bottom of the mask. So we're just going to try to get to the right color, and it's going to be a nice light gray, and to make it fade into the rest of the mask, we're going to gradient it out with a blank second color, because that way it'll fade into the mask. Otherwise, it'll still just look like an oval. This way, it can blend nice and well, and we still can get that nice, sharp, contoured line right through the middle of the mask. And now we're gonna get to the hands. For this left hand here, we're just gonna use 3 nice little white circles. Because there's not a perfect shape for this, we're gonna not be able to use any gradients. Otherwise, those wouldn't mesh very well. But we can get a nice little this nice cute little shape here, which fits perfectly to give us a nice little you know, mitten illusion that he has a thumb separated from the rest of his hand. So that fits quite well. Using gradients is just kind of nice. It makes it feel less like a sticker, like it's out of place and just placed there. And it nicely fleshes within the rest of it. So here we're going to have the shoulder pads. This one is a little bit tricky. This one took me a little bit of time to get to the right shape. We're going to start with the gold because that is going to be the outer lining of his shoulder pad. And then we're going to come in with the purple above it. To get the main part of the shoulder pad. It's getting the point that was a little bit tricky. I just had to find the right shape and freeform it to the perfect size to get the correct point as well as it not being jagged. Have it be a nice smooth transition. The other shoulder pad is way easier. So here we are moving on to the second shoulder pad. We copy and pasted just so we can get the same color and gradients. We're just going to change the shape. And this one actually works super perfectly because it already has that nice little sharp lip to it. Or at least as good as we can get with the amount of layers that we do have. And then we're going to get the same gold here. To get the outline of it, and we just put the layers. It's really nice the way that they made the movement of the layers. It's a lot more seamless in this version. So we're gonna get that gold and just throw that on here for the fringe detail, and then we just use one little circle for the hand since it doesn't require much detail because it is holding the sword, and the sword is where I'm gonna have to use a little bit more layers here. So here we are moving on to the wings. As you can see, we don't have a lot of layers to play with right here. So I'm just using this nice little shape right here to get, it gives us the basic shape of the wing. It's straight on two edges and it's nice curvature on the other edge. It's the same shape we used in the Black Ops 2 version. But now we can get a gradient to make it look a little bit nicer. And we can throw up some other shapes to make the spike of the bat wings to not look like they're just protruding out of nowhere. Maybe you might want to use a triangle or a different shape if you prefer. It's really up to you at this point for the wings. Like I said, they're not that noticeable, which is why I chose to forgo the detail on the wings as opposed to on the mask or on the sword, since those are a bit more noticeable. So we're just going to use this nice little toothy looking shape. That looks perfect because it's flat on one side and it's soft, rounded, contoured on the other side. So we're just going to put that on the other ones, and well as put some little sockets for them to fit in. Takes a little bit of reshaping, and they're kind of a little thin on the top part of these little sockets, but we make it work. We make it work, and I think it looks good. So after a little bit of cleaning up of the layers here, we're going to give this nice little emblem the name that it deserves, the greatest video game character in existence, Mr. Meta Knight. And of course, we're going to have to find a player card that can work with him. Thankfully, they have one already for us that's just perfect. It has a sword and bat wings. So that was the obvious choice there. So we're going to go ahead and set that as our emblem, our nice snazzy second emblem here. This was requested a couple of times for people to make a second Meta Knight one, so I decided to just remaster the one that I made in Black Ops 2. So yeah, you can check out the playlist. All the other Black Ops ones can be made, but with more detail now that we have more layers. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.